Begin by simply listening. Slow down. See just how peaceful today can be. Thanks so much for being here. You can call me your host, Sebastian St. Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls. Vincent twice. You can always call me Bennett. The plan for today's episode is Orson Welles' The Green Goddess on the radio, and Secret of Evermore on the Super Nintendo. So this is kind of like the Mercury Theatre on the Air or the Campbell Playhouse. It's Orson Welles and all his sidekick actor buddies on the radio doing a book a week or some kind of story. And Secret of Evermore is in the style of Secret of Mana, but it's its own mood. It's a dark and weird and funny mood. Not that we'll probably be laughing out loud at the game because we'll be so focused on the Orson Welles. It's all about the focus. Thanks so much for swinging by. Wish us luck.
The makers of Campbell Soup present The Campbell Playhouse. Orson Welles, producer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orson Welles.
Very high tech.
The late William Archer was as formidable a gentleman as you would wish to meet. From 1884 to 1923, he wrote dramatic criticism for almost every important paper in England. And almost every American and English playwright at one time or another winced beneath his pen lashings. Then later in life, he developed a secret passion, a disgraceful passion for a dramatic critic. He wanted to write a play. Mr. Archer was a very thorough old gentleman. The first thing he did was to write a book in which he explained exactly and in great detail how plays should be written. It became a classic. No young playwright since then would dream of writing a play without carefully consulting and following the rules and dictates laid down by Mr. William Archer. No young playwright, that is, except Mr. William Archer, who at the age of 63 sat down and wrote a play in which he took care to break every single one of the rules that he'd set down in his manual. It was called The Raja of Rook. Changed to The Green Goddess. Opened on December 27, 1920 at the Walnut Street Theatre in Philadelphia with Mr. George Arliss in the leading part, and was an immediate and overwhelming success. Ladies and gentlemen, it only remains for me to tell you that our guest tonight is the star of such fine motion pictures as The 39 Steps, The General Dies at Dawn, The Prisoner of Zenda, and the new Paramount picture Cafe Society, the beautiful and talented Madeleine Carroll. But before we begin, a word from Ernest Chappell.
Not so many years ago, tomato soup and cream of tomato were unusual dishes, enjoyed very much, but not very often. Today, of all the soups in the world, tomato soup is the one most often served. Not because women have taken to making tomato soup frequently. No, on the contrary, few housewives ever attempt it anymore. There's just one reason for tomato soup's popularity, and it is this: the magic, matchless flavor of Campbell's tomato soup. There's a lively verve, a dashing zest about this flavor that people take to at once and come back to and enjoy again and again. The first racy taste of it has a way of arousing a desire to eat, and yet there's a pleasant feeling of satisfaction when the last spoonful is gone. So this soup is a happy choice for the main dish at lunchtime or at supper, and it also is a fine way to start the day's main meal. Serve it sometimes, too, as cream of tomato, made with milk instead of water. You can always be sure that it will be received with pleasure, because this, of all soups, is the one people like to have most often: Campbell's tomato soup. And now for Miss Madeleine Carroll, Mr. Orson Welles, and The Green Goddess.
sir. Did you do anything about the wireless? Afraid not. Oil's gone. How far's Bahari? I'll make it soon.
Anthony, I'm frightened. The fog's getting thicker.
Here, Lucilla, take a drink of whiskey. Rest you up.
No, thanks. You've been drinking enough for both of us.
I'll have to get my warmth somewhere. My wife certainly doesn't provide any. Now, do you, my dear?
Anthony, I'm sure we should have landed at Bahari by now. Ask Dr. Traherne.
Don't tell me you haven't perfect confidence in our pilot, Lucilla.
Please, Anthony, this is no time.
On the contrary, it's a very good time. You have to sit still and listen to me for once. Lucilla, I know very well what's on your mind. What's been on your mind for months. You're cursing the mistake you made in marrying a poor devil of a soldier man instead of a first-rate scientific genius like our Dr. Traherne. Come on, make a clean breast of it.
I have nothing to say.
Well, my dear, if you only have patience for a year or two, I'll do the right thing for once and drink myself to death.
No use in it. The air is dead. We're out of contact.
The colonel's worried. He sent me over. Major Crichton and his wife were passengers on Dr. Traherne's plane. How long ago was his last message?
40 minutes.
That's not so long.
1 minute long. Flying blind in a Himalayan fog burst.
Oh, you're confounded pessimist, Dawson.
Well, I've done some flying over the Himalayas, Captain.
Could Traherne possibly make a forced landing?
Yes, in one of the valleys. But I'd almost rather he'd take a mountain right in the face. Those wild beggars in the
Oh,
interior.
no, nonsense. They wouldn't dare molest British subjects.
Oh, wouldn't they? 3 of the devils just shot down one of our deputies right here in Hamel Sarai.
Yes, and they're going to hang for it.
Well, you can't hang all the savages in those mountains, Captain. Not even the British government.
Try him again, Dawson.
Right-o, sir.
Major Crichton? Yes, what is it, Traherne? I'm afraid the fog's thrown us off our course. We're running short of petrol. I've got to make a landing.
There's nothing but mountains all around.
Have to take a chance with the gully. I'm trying to get under the fog. Looks like a peak straight ahead. I see it. I'll nose down to the right.
There's a hole in the fog. Anthony, your glasses. Quick, on my side.
Good. I see a green patch. Right below it. There as you dive. Steady. I'll bank. If the petrol holds up, there's a clearing in the woods. Castle or something.
I see it. About 1,000 feet, a little to the left.
No use. Petrol's gone. I'll take the castle. Straight to the door of Mrs. Preston's side. Open it. Hold tight, everybody. Here we go. Easy there. Easy. Take it easy, everyone. You hurt?
No, I'm all right.
How about it, Traherne? No use. Fella smashed. That is depend on the natives.
Perhaps we could get word to that palace we saw up on the hill.
Well, the natives did that for us, Lucilla. Listen. Keeping at a safe distance. We're scared of it.
No wonder, the way we landed.
I wonder what sort of place we struck.
Look over there. Right above us. That statue.
By Jove. What a creature.
Oh, isn't she?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 arms.
What a horrible color.
Some goddess they worship. Kali, I shouldn't wonder. Well, let's have a close look at the lady.
Anthony, they don't want you near the statue.
The devil's what they want, Major. I wouldn't hang with them. Think of your wife. I'm quite able to take care of myself and my wife, too, Dr. Traherne.
Please, Anthony, we've got to show them we're friendly. Try talking to them in Hindustani.
Hello! You were splendid, Lucilla, all through.
I have faith in you.
If I'd had another pint of petrol. But I simply hadn't such a luck.
It wasn't luck. It was you that saved us, Daddy.
There's no use. They can't understand it. We must be well into Central Asia. Rock? Where's that? Why, I've heard that name recently. Looks like. Can't remember exactly.
I remember. Anthony, see that Calcutta paper still in the cockpit.
Yeah, I got there. I was reading it on the wire. Yes, it's still in my pocket.
I read something just this morning. Let me have it.
Probably on the province dispatches.
Yes, this is the paragraph. Abdalabad, Tuesday. Sentence of death has been passed on 3 men found guilty of the murder of Mr. Hairdale, agent of His Majesty's government. It appears these criminals are inhabitants of Rook, a small and little-known independent state among the northern spurs of the Himalayas.
That's it. Look, I read it too. And by the way, this news isn't the best possible passport for free Englishmen.
But if they're 100 miles from anywhere, it can't be known yet.
Oh, they won't dare touch us. Still, I think I'll burn this page. Have you got a match, Preston? Here you are. Thanks. Well, there she goes. Just in case there's anyone here who can read.
Look out. They're watching us, Doctor.
What's that?
Look. Figures moving through the trees.
It's a procession of some sort. Soldiers, by the heavens. In uniform. Oh, putting out their best foot for us, eh, Doctor? Well, I hope it's a friendly gesture.
I don't like their looks very much. What's that in the center? They're carrying someone on a letter. Look at the gold on it.
It's probably the Raja. Try to show them my revolver, Steady, Major. Let us take our chances on their being friendly.
Anthony, try to explain to him.
Now, see if he knows any Hindustani. Yapura Kagaran. Yapura Kijati Yatapa. Yamur Kapa. There's no use. The ignorant beggar probably only knows some tribal language, because I have with that gun. Raja! Kinunga, say!
I bid you welcome to my humble kingdom.
Oh, yes, Your Highness speaks English. Then I can apologize for our landing uninvited in your territory.
Uninvited, but I assure you, not unwelcome.
Where we are given to understand that this is the state of Rook.
To the kingdom of Rook, Major. Major, if I rightly read the symbols of military rank on your cut.
Major Percy. Permit me to introduce my wife.
I am delighted, madame, to welcome you to my secluded dominions. You are the first lady of your nation I have had the honor of receiving.
Your Highness is very kind.
And this is Dr. Basil Traherne, whose aeroplane, or what's left of it, you see.
Dr. Traherne. The Canadian Dr. Traherne, whose name I have so often seen in the newspaper. The pasteur of malaria.
Well, the newspapers make too much of my work. Very incomplete.
But you're an aviator as well.
Only an amateur.
I presume it is some misadventure, most fortunate misadventure for me, that has carried you so far into the wilds of the Himalayas.
Yes, we got lost in the clouds.
Pity.
On our way to Bahari, from Amil Sarai. Major Cressman is stationed there. I offered to take them in my plane. I'm afraid it was a rash suggestion.
Madame is a sportswoman, then.
Oh, I've been up many times.
Yes, many times.
Well, you've made a sensation here, I can assure you. My people have never seen an aeroplane. They are not. Sure, simple souls. Whether you are gods or demons. But the fact of your having descended in the precincts of a temple of our local goddess, allow me to introduce you to her, is considered highly significant. Is your machine past repair, Dr. Traherne?
Utterly, I'm afraid.
Let us look at it. I guess propeller smashed, plane crumpled up.
Undercarriage wreck.
I am afraid we can't offer to repair the damage for you.
I'm afraid not, sir.
A wonderful machine, yes. Europe has something to boast of. I wonder what the priest here thinks of it. He says it's the great rock, the giant bird, you know, of our eastern stories. And he declares that he plainly saw his goddess hovering over you as you descended and guiding you towards her temple.
Hope so. We shall find no difficulty in obtaining transport back to India.
To civilization, you were going to say. Why hesitate, my dear sir? We know very well that we are barbarians. We are quite reconciled to the fact. We have had some 5,000 years to accustom ourselves to it. This sword is a barbarous weapon compared with your revolver, but it was worn by my ancestors when yours were daubing themselves blue and picking up a precarious livelihood in the woods. But Madame is standing all this time. Watkins!
Your Highness?
Watkins, what are you thinking of? Some cushions, a litter for Madame, and mountain chairs for gentlemen. They'll be here in a few minutes. And then I hope you will accept the hospitality of my poor house.
I'm afraid we're giving you a great deal of trouble, Your Highness.
A great deal of pleasure, Madame.
I hope, sir, there will be no difficulty about obtaining the transport back to India.
Time enough to talk of that, Major. When you have rested and recuperated after your adventure, you will do me the honor of dining with me this evening, I trust.
Your Highness, we've nothing to wear but what we're in.
Oh, I think we can put that all right. Watkins,
Your Highness.
you are in the confidence of our mistress of the robes. How does our wardrobe stand?
Fresh consignment of Paris models come in only last week, Your Highness.
Good. Then I hope, Madame, that you may find among them some rag that you will deign to wear.
Paris models, Your Highness. And you talk of being uncivilized.
We do what we can, Madame. I sometimes have the pleasure of entertaining European ladies, though not hitherto English women, in my solitudes, and I like to mitigate the terrors of exile for them. And then, as for civilization, you know, I always have at my elbow one of its most finished products. Watkins.
Your Honor.
You will recognize in Watkins, gentlemen, another representative of the ruling race. I assure you he rules me with an iron hand, not always in a velvet glove. Hey, Watkins.
Your Highness will have your little joke.
Yes. He's my Prime Minister and all my cabinet, but more particularly my Lord Chamberlain. No one can touch him at mixing a cocktail or making a salad. My entire household trembles at his nod. Even my chef quails before him. Nothing comes amiss to him, for he is like myself, a man without prejudices. I have sometimes thought of instituting a peerage in order that I might raise Watkins to it, but I mustn't let my admiration for British institutions carry me too far, must I? Here comes the litter. Permit me, madam, to hand you to your panicant.
Thank you, Your Highness.
I see you have a newspaper, madam. A recent paper is such a rarity. You must allow me to glance at it.
Of course.
The telegraph news is gone. What a pity. In my seclusion, I hunger for tidings from the civilized world.
Well, I'm sorry, Your Highness. I tore out that column.
For I know your motive, Dr. Traherne, and I appreciate it. You destroyed it out of consideration for my feelings, wishing to spare me a painful piece of intelligence. That was very thoughtful, but quite unnecessary. I already know what you tried to conceal.
Well,
I know that 3 of my subjects, accused of a political crime, have been sentenced to death. Oh, it is possible. Sir, we have a saying here in the East. Good news travels on the back of a tortoise, but bad news flies with the eagle. But one thing you can perhaps tell me, is there any chance of their sentences being remitted?
I'm afraid not, Your Highness.
Admitted? I should rather say not. With a cold-blooded, unprovoked murder.
Unprovoked. Unprovoked, you think? Well, I won't argue the point. The execution is to be...
I think tomorrow or the day after.
Tomorrow or the day after, yes. Forgive me, madame, I've kept you waiting. You'll proceed at once.
Your Highness seems so interested. Does Your Highness know anything of these men?
Know them? Oh, yes. Yes, Doctor, I do know them. They are my brothers.
Mahari, Omnipot, Sahanu Karai. Your message received. No sign plain you describe. Ready to seek missing plane. Please advise location last known. Mahari.
No, they're down all right. Petrol couldn't last. If they'd only made a landing.
If they had, Preston would have rigged up their wireless on the ground. He's a good hand at it.
You're a counterfeit soul, Dawson. One of those born obituary writers.
Well, I don't see no reason to feel cheerful.
Well, keep it humming. I lost the colonel about orders for Tahari. Oh, by the way, advise mountain stations the 3 murderers of Haredale are sentenced to be hanged tomorrow at sunset. Might serve as a warning.
Right, Chief. To all mountain stations. 3 murderers of Haredale are sentenced to be hanged.
Excellent dinner, Roger. I don't know how you manage a gourmet feast.
Savage country. Major, you English feel civilization is your peculiar possession.
Oh, my husband didn't mean that, Your Highness. Naturally, we didn't expect such splendor in your mountain kingdom.
Thank you, madame. My humble castle is indeed splendid if it pleases you. But I must really replenish this salon one day. My ancestors had no notion of comfort.
They had considerable notion of a view, I should say, when they built this loggia. I never felt closer to the stars.
My dear doctor, is that a premonition or an observation?
But Dr. Traherne is quite an astronomer.
Oh, well, not exactly an astronomer. I can pick out a few constellations, that's all.
For my part, I look at the stars as little as possible. Today, I was guilty of a little showing off when I met you with fanfare and troops. Think of the Maharaja up yonder, who night after night whistles up his glittering legions, as much as to say, see what a devil of a fellow I am. I think it's quite in good taste.
I'm afraid you're jealous, Roger. You don't like having to play second fiddle to a still more absolute ruler than yourself.
Yes, perhaps you're right, madame. That's his party, then. But there's something much more to it. I can't help resenting. Let me recommend the brandy, Major. I think you'll find it excellent.
It is indeed.
What is it you resent, Your Highness?
Oh, the respect paid to mere size, to the immensity, as they call it, of the universe. Are we to worship a god because he's big?
But if you resent his bigness, what do you say to his littleness? The microscope, you know, reveals him no less than the telescope.
And reveals him in the form of a death-dealing speck of matter, which you, I understand, Doctor, are impiously proposing to exterminate.
I'm trying to marshal the life-saving against the death-dealing powers.
To marshal God's right hand against his left, eh? This mosquito I've just killed. I'm glad to see you smoke, madame. Just keep them off. This mosquito, or any smallest thing that has life in it, is to be far more admirable than a whole lifeless universe. What do you say, Major?
I say, Roger, that you'd give me another glass of brandy, I'll let you have your own way about the universe.
It's a very satisfactory trade. Your glass, Major.
Thanks. I say, Your Highness, all this is rather out of my depth. We've had rather a fatiguing day. Mightn't we...
To be sure, to be sure. We are now going to committee upon your position here.
If you please, sir.
I'm afraid you may find it rather disagreeable.
Communication's bad, eh? We have a difficult journey before us.
A long journey, monsieur. Not precisely difficult.
Well, it surely can't be so very far since you'd heard of the sentence passed on those assassins.
I'm glad, Major, that you have so tactfully spared the pain of reopening that subject. We should have had to come to it sooner or later.
But when Your Highness said they were your brothers, you were, of course, speaking figuratively. You meant your tribesmen.
Oh, not at all. No. They are sons of my father. They're not of my mother.
And we come upon you at such a time. How dreadful.
Oh, pray don't apologize. Believe me, your arrival has given me great satisfaction.
How do you mean?
I'll explain presently, but first...
First, let's understand each other. You surely can't approve of this abominable crime.
My brothers are fanatics, and there is no fanaticism in me. My education was wholly European. I shed all my prejudices. I became the open-minded citizen of the world whom I hope you recognize in me. My brothers, on the other hand, turned to India for their culture. The religion of our people has always been a primitive idolatry. My brothers naturally fell in with the adherents of the same superstition, and they worked each other up to a high pitch of frenzy against the European exploitation of Asia.
You mean, sir, you defend this wicked murder?
Oh, no, I think it foolish and futile. But there is a romantic as well as a practical side to my nature. And from the romantic point of view, I rather admire it.
Then, sir, the less we intrude on your hospitality, the better. If you'll be good enough to furnish us with transport tomorrow morning...
That is just where the difficulty arises.
Oh, transport, eh?
Materially, it might be managed. But morally, I fear, excuse the colloquialism, damn no go.
What the blazes you mean, sir?
Will Your Highness be good enough to explain?
I mentioned that the religion of my people is a primitive superstition. For since the news has spread that 3 fingers have dropped from the skies, precisely at the time when 3 princes of the royal house are threatened with death at the hands of the Ferengi government, and dropped moreover in the precincts of a temple, my subjects have got it into their heads that you have been personally conducted hither by the goddess whom they especially worship.
The goddess?
Here's her portrait on the mantelpiece, much admired by connoisseurs.
Then the upshot of all this palaver is that you propose a whole house of hostages in exchange for your brothers.
That is not precisely the idea, my dear sir. My theologians do not hold that an exchange is what the goddess decrees. Nor, to be quite frank, that it altogether suits my purpose.
Not to get your brothers back again?
You may have noted in history, madame, that family affection is seldom a strong point of principle.
But I don't quite see, Your Highness, what all this has to do with us.
We are approaching the crux of the matter, a point which I fear you may have some difficulty in appreciating. I would beg you to remember that though I am what is commonly called an autocrat, there is no such thing under the sun as a real despotism. All government is government by consent of the people. It is very stupid of them to consent, but they do. I defied their prejudices or their passions. They could upset my throne tomorrow.
Will you be so kind as to come to the point, sir?
Gently, Major, gently. We shall reach it soon enough. Please remember, too, that I am a slave to theology. The clerical party can do what it pleases with me.
Please, Your Highness, you're
The
torturing
point
us.
is, dear lady, that this theology on which, as I say, my whole power is founded, has not yet emerged from a very primitive stage of development. It demands an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life.
You mean to say...
Unfortunately, I do.
You kill us?
Not I, madame, the clerical party. And only if my brothers are executed. If not, I will merely demand your word of honor that what has passed between us shall never be mentioned to any human soul should go free.
But if your brother assassins are hanged, as they certainly will be, you'll put us to death in cold blood?
Oh, not in cold blood, Major. There is nothing cold-blooded about the clerical party when white goats, as their phrase goes, are to be sacrificed to the goddess.
What if it's disgraceful? Does your goddess demand the life of a woman?
Well, on that point, she might not be too exacting. If Madame would be so gracious as to favor me with her society.
Your Highness, not a word, now I'll shoot you.
Anthony.
No use, Major. That gun wouldn't help you a bit. If you killed me, you'd only be torn to pieces instead of beheaded.
We'll take our chances.
Besides, I've had your pistol unloaded. That precaution was taken while you were at your bath.
You devil.
Anthony, please.
I gather, Madame, that my offer does not please you. Well, I scarcely hoped it would. I do not press the point. Nonetheless, the suggestion is open.
But what's that sound?
Interesting. If you wait a few minutes, I may have some news for you. I recognize the service call, a message to the air base at Amisara. Excuse me. Well, Watkins?
The army post. Ferrari, your
What do they say?
Just remember, Highness. Ferrari, army post, Emil Sarai. No sign, flame, you describe. Ready to seek missing plane. Please advise location. Last now.
Much good that will do them. Out of contact, Watkins?
The years ahead, Your Highness. It's from Annual Sarai. To all mountain stations. 3 murderers of Airedale sentenced to be hanged tomorrow at sunset.
Turn it off. That's all I need to know.
Yes, Your Highness.
I find your friends are very interested in your whereabouts.
What's that?
Emil Sarai is transmitting messages to Bahari and Bahari to Emil Sarai.
How'd you know?
Why, Major, you're an army man. You must know something wireless.
Never had occasion. I had operators at my command.
And you, Dr. Traherne?
I know even less than the Major. We heard those sounds, of course, when you went out.
You see, Doctor, we are not entirely benighted.
Horrible.
We have a wireless installation.
Did you have anything further to tell us, Your Highness?
Yes. I'm afraid not very good news. My brother's execution is fixed for tomorrow.
Then tomorrow?
Yes. Sunset. But meanwhile, I hope you will regard my poor house as your own. I should not advise you to pass the palace gates. It will not be safe.
Your Highness.
Yes, Madame.
I can't believe that you really mean what you've told us tonight. Perhaps you're testing us, having fun at our expense. Will you please now, for my sake, communicate with Anil Sarai and bring about an exchange? Your brother's lives for ours.
No, Madame, I am desolated to have to refuse you. It is always difficult to refuse a beautiful woman anything.
Unrest.
And you are a very beautiful woman. But you must not ask for the impossible. I've already given you my reasons.
And what's to prevent us from throwing ourselves from that lodge onto the rocks below? From cheating your goddess?
Nothing, dear lady, except that clinging to the known and shrinking from the unknown that all of us feel. And besides, you cannot read my mind. As you suggested a moment ago, I may only be playing a little joke on you. You have observed that I have a sense of humor. I'm afraid I've been talking a great deal. Madame, my servant will take you to your room. Ja. See, Thomas. You will see that Madame has everything she needs for her comfort. And may I hope that you will rest well in my humble abode.
Good night, Anthony. Basil.
Good night, my dear. Good night, Lucilla.
If there is anything, Madame, that is not entirely to your liking, I trust you will not hesitate to make your wishes known. Good night, Madame. And now, gentlemen, tomorrow we have all day. Shall we start with a game of billiards? Say at 10 o'clock. Now our last whiskey and soda. No? Then good night. Good night.
listening to the Campbell Playhouse presentation of The Green Goddess, starring Madeline Carroll and Orson Welles. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. This is Ernest Chappell, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you back to the Campbell Playhouse. In a moment or two, we shall resume our presentation of The Green Goddess, starring Orson Welles and Madeline Carroll. Leaving our guest star as an uneasy dinner companion of the Rajah, whose table talk was so disturbing, though the service, I'm sure, was flawless, let's consider this question of food in the drama. So many plays have been written around meals or have featured meals.
That was heartbreaking that skeleton dragon murdered me. It wasn't even to the end of the episode yet. Begin by simply listening, slow down, see just how peaceful today can be. Thanks so much for being here. Catch you guys on the flip side.